in my life. Oh, look at this one. This is
Oh, wow.
a shark tooth that was made from the mold of Ben Gardner's head by Craig Nicotero.
Wow.
Wow.
I got the same one at Scarefest. It's a fantastic piece.
Yeah, right.
Made weak by big time, by time I think that struggling will strive to seek to find and not to yield. Like it.
For sure. Alfred
Right, guys,
Lord Tennyson.
Jeffrey, we're officially recording now, so we'll get started. And I just have a little bit of a blurb before we get started. So first of all, thank you so much for joining. It really is a massive pleasure for us. It's a big day today. The Amity Jaws Group hit 30,000 members, and we have a Q&A with Mr. Jeffrey Kramer. So it's a fantastic day for us. So you guys obviously might be aware of Mr. Kramer. He was in a fish movie that you may have seen a few years ago. So we will keep this very conversational, very, very light. I'm just here to moderate in case we get people talking over each other. But for the most part, we're just going to have a conversation and talk about.
Perfect. Perfect. I see I'm not even centered. I can't even, not good at that stuff.
What was wrong with your printing? We need to know.
My hand shook, and in the other one, in Jaws 2, I noticed that every time I was writing, I had my tongue out of my mouth like this.
We're going to watch back and see if we can look for that now. That'll be it. That's all we're going to spot.
Yeah.
Gentleman's got his tongue out.
This is my good luck piece. I went to a stop sign several years ago, and the cop goes, pulls me over. He goes, you went to a stop sign. I said, yeah, but I didn't go over far. And he said, hey, why are you wearing that hat? I said, oh, I played the deputy in Jaws. He goes, oh, I love that movie. Don't do it again. So I wear it all the time.
Jeff, how did you get into acting? What was the onus or the impetus for you to start?
My mother told me, she took me to see Peter Pan, and I remember I just identified. I never wanted to grow up. I always loved imagination, and she said to me that I almost fell out of the balcony, which is probably true, knowing me. And ever since then, I wanted to be an actor. Then later on in life, when I was having children and whatever, and selling flowers on the corner of Fairfax and Pico with my hat down so my agent wouldn't see that it was me, I got a job offer, and Dreyfus was instrumental in this. And they said, why don't you come develop for us? And my wife said, oh, I'd love to. And Richard Dreyfuss said, and I quote, if you don't do this, I will fucking kill you. And I did it. Wow. And it was a fast track. And I was happy to change my life. I realized eventually that we were the last hired and the first fired. And the boy, having children, I didn't want to be that way. And, you star in a pilot. I started in a pilot with Jack Elam years ago, went to series. We shot 13. They aired 3 of them. It was such a disaster. I couldn't get a job for 9 months. And the night it premiered, it was called Struck by Lightning. And I'm Dr. Frankenstein's great-great-grandson, and I run an inn in Maine. And Jack Elam is the handyman and the Frankenstein monster. And I'm trying to come up with a serum that will keep him alive forever. And every time he got struck by lightning, it hit him in the back and go, like it was, scratching his back. And we shot 13, they aired 3. And the night before, my dearest friend, Marty Nadler, who had another show right before me called The Last Resort about waders in the mountains, because we all were together. And at one point, and we went out, and that night we're having dinner, and I say, oh, maybe finally I'm going to be able to buy a home or get a better apartment or whatever. And the next day after the premiere, I was driving into the studio, and the guard at the gate said to me, hey, Jeffrey, your friend Marty called, and he said, and he opens a piece of paper, and he goes, he says that if he were you, he wouldn't even buy lunch. The numbers were so bad, they only aired 3 and canceled it. It's true. Oh my gosh. I think both people who saw it didn't like it.
Well, we got echo.
Yeah.
Is that JSF? Somebody who's the JSF? There's some. It looks like
That's me. That's me. Yeah. Am I causing this?
It sounds like it's coming from
Yeah,
your
it keeps
end.
popping up. JSF.
Sorry.
If I could chime in for just a second here, guys, what'll help with some of that is if you hit the mute button until you're going to come up and speak. If there is any type of echo, that'll help with that on Zoom. What happens is you get a little bit of the sound coming through your speakers and then re-entering. So that just something I typically do. So sorry, didn't mean to interrupt anything.
No, thank you.
Worry.
Thank you.
So Jeff, it seemed like in the 70s though, you were in I think every show that was made. Barney Miller, Baretta, Chico and the Man, MASH, Laverne, Shirley, The Incredible Hulk, Soap, Happy Days. I mean, was there a show that you weren't on in the 70s?
Yeah, well, there were, but Happy Days was. I used to play the leader of Fonzie's old gang, and did a bunch of Lavernes. Laverne and Shirley, oh boy. Gary Marshall was one of the greats. I love that man. And some people said, Gary Marshall didn't direct a movie. He hosted a movie. He was like the lead camp counselor. And it just made it fun. And I took that lesson because, there's some producers who go out there and they just intimidate and yell, and you get more with kindness. And it is indeed like being a camp counselor. It's getting people to do what you need them to do and helping them to, and making them want to do it. So it's positive and it's pleasant and it's fun. And I mean, I loved producing, and I got so blessed and lucky to be partnered with David Kelly. One year at the Emmys, we won Best Emmy for Best Comedy for Ally McBeal and Best Drama for The Practice. It's never happened before. And I don't know that it'll happen again, but it was just awesome. I had my mom and my kids there. It was great.
It's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, guys, I don't want to dominate the conversation. So please jump in. Feel free. We're trying to keep it conversational. Any questions? Let's just ask them.
I bet Judy Pancoast has a question.
You
mentioned Ally McBeal and The Practice there.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any idea just how big globally Ally McBeal was going to be?
Not a clue. Not a clue. And it's so interesting because when we were doing it, we knew The Practice, and we'd had Chicago Hope at the time. Previously, there was Picket Fences, but that was before I got to David. And when we got into Ally McBeal, I found Callista. We found her in a New York stage play. She was in Chekhov's Three Sisters at the Roundabout Theater. And she became a star overnight. It was stunning, but we had no idea. But I called Phil Burke, who is the president of the Golden Globes. And I said, Phil, we have a lot of in-house drama competition, and I'm telling you, this plays like a comedy, but I leave it up to you. What do you think? Should we enter it as a comedy? And he said, he watched it. He said, it's funny. It should be, because no 1-hour shows were viewed as comedies then, really. And we did it. This is 20 some odd years ago. And we put it in, and we won the Golden Globe in the first year, and it put us on the map. And then she ended up on the cover of Time magazine at that time. It was stunning. Nobody had any idea. It's like Jaws. We thought they were going to pull the plug during the movie constantly. We're over budget. We're not supposed to be there in the middle of the summer and all of this. And who knew that it was a creative, perfect storm, you know? Everything came together. Verna Fields cut this so beautifully. The music made such a difference. Stephen's eye in shooting it so that you are looking at it at water level was just brilliant. And it just all worked. And it's rare when that happens. I mean, how blessed was I to be part of this? Because you can't plan this. It just has to happen.
Lightning in a
Thanks,
bottle.
Jeffrey.
Lightning in a bottle.
Hello?
And it's sort of, I think we all agree, we know that the fact that the
Hello?
shark didn't work. Can you hear me? Is it working?
Is it me?
His audio isn't working.
Who's not?
I can hear everyone.
Yeah, I can hear everybody.
I can hear everyone.
Jeffrey looks like he's frozen.
Yeah, everyone's sound's coming through. Looks like Jeff might
Yeah, I
have
think
had a
he-
connection problem.
You might have had a glitch.
Give it a minute, he'll come back. Yep.
Does everybody have questions for Jeff?
Yeah, I got a few.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love the conversational side of it. It's great, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Just to let it, you know, that sort of
Just
side.
us
Yeah.
chit-chatting with Deputy
Yeah.
Hendricks. No big
I'm,
deal.
I'm starstruck.
Well,
He's gonna need a bigger bandwidth.
We weren't chatting. Oh, there he is.
What happened? Did I say something?
Only do the zooming.
I mentioned about something being broken, and that was it. The whole thing just went kaput.
Yeah. I thought maybe what I said broke it. No.
You need to let Pally do the internet.
Yeah, really.
Oh, God.
Sure. It's funny.
What was your question? You were asking a question, right?
I think it was more just sort of saying. I think that I think we all agree that the part of the power of Jaws is, and we know that the shark was problematic. I think that really helped to make the film because it really. I mean, it's up here. This is the most powerful thing. I mean, one of my other favorite films is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and the fact that that most of that is off screen and it's subliminal and it's up here. That makes it more terrifying than actually seeing it. And when you compare it to say like Deep Blue Sea, where the shark's everywhere and it's sort of like computer generated.
Well, I agree. Totally right on the money. And my part got a little bigger as time went on because they needed cover shots. The shark didn't work. We'd shot out everything that was interior, and it made you rely on character. I mean, if I see Roy Scheider turn his head and look at the sea one more time, can make you, you had to rely on character because the shark didn't work. If they remade it now, they'd want bigger and it'd do all these things. I mean, I couldn't get through the Meg 2.
Yeah, rubbish.
I didn't start it. No.
Yeah, it was just tough. But there is true. And he was such an imaginative filmmaker. It was, I mean, I was so nervous the first day of shooting, which was finding the hand. I could have really thrown up, I think. I mean, it was tough. So nervous, big. I had a honey wagon, a dressing room for the first time ever in my life. It was stunning. And we were all babies. We were kids. Crazy.
That scene. Sorry.
Right, Phil.
No, I'm just saying that scene that when you first found the arm, that's going to be on my tattoo somewhere on my arm.
Oh, I love it.
Mhm.
Oh, you have Quint. Look at that. That's great.
Got Brody somewhere.
Oh boy, Scheider. Yeah, I get it. Dreyfus was the godfather to one of my kids.
Really?
Yeah,
You're going on my arm next.
Oh, I love it. You honor me. Dreyfus, I'll tell you a funny story. We became friends on Jaws. And several years later, my wife knew him. We all knew each other. And both our wives are pregnant. And he calls me up. He goes, Kramer, go get some Greenblatt's chicken, which was a deli in LA, and said, bring it up to the house for dinner. So we come up to the house for dinner. We have a great, lovely dinner, and we go home. And within 24 hours, both women delivered babies. We all blamed it on the Greenblatt's chicken.
Mark, did you have a question?
What was that?
I think Mark Ames had a question. Or go ahead. Go ahead, Daryl.
Oh, I was I was just kind of curious what what your thoughts are with the use of AI these days in movies. The way it's kind of changed film today. I think whether I don't know. I'm just curious if you thought there was any benefit to it, or if you find it distracting.
Well,
especially in terms of using it, like in placement of actors and such.
I think it's a disaster for actors, and I think writers should be terrified of this because it's really smart and scary. At one point during the strike, they were talking about they wanted to buy background actors looks and whatever, and one-time payment, and they could use it forever. Everybody came together for this strike and we won, but you lose by winning because everybody will make more money. But as right now, they're making many fewer shows and there's less roles sometimes, and it's pretty bad out there. And and if you hit it big, you hit it big, but a very small percentage hits it big, and those stars they squeeze the middle pay for actors because there isn't only so much money. They think you need a star to launch anything, and certain things I can understand it, but most I don't. And you got to rely on the material and the actors, but I think they don't take chances like they used to, and in those days when Fox Network was starting, we could go upstairs and say to our cousins upstairs, because I was at Fox Television Studios when we started, and I helped develop the X-Files, and that kind of stuff didn't exist on those airways except for the Rod Serling one, and he was a teacher at the school. I met him many times at Ithaca College that I went to. What a nice man Rod Serling was. But
Twilight Zone.
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'm old.
Question, kind of a follow-up to that. As somebody who works so extensively in network, what are your thoughts on streaming and how that has changed the landscape of home entertainment? And now that I just found out that you developed the X-Files, I have to ask a follow-up question. What is your favorite episode?
Oh, it's so interesting because, in those days of the X-Files, you developed it and then you turned it over to a team that was current programming. So, and I was so busy, I would only catch certain episodes, but I didn't see a lot of them. But the idea of unexplained phenomenon and a believer and a non-believer they've been trying to copy it forever. And the guy who wrote it, Chris Carter, who created it, he was the editor of Surfing Magazine. So it tells you, that everybody's got an imagination, and sometimes you hit it and sometimes you really miss. But what was your original question again?
Oh, about streaming. What do you think about streaming and how it's changed the landscape of it?
I watch a lot of streaming, but it kills me that there's only 8 episodes. And when the screen froze before, I was talking about episodes and the number of them, and 8 episodes, it's not a lot. And they used to make, right before I began television in the old days, they made 39 episodes a year. Then when I came in, it was 22 to 26. I mean, that was, and if you had a single lead in an hour-long show, you had to be careful that you could give some of the heavy lifting to other actors. Otherwise, you'd kill them. It was so intense. And we shot an episode, it used to be 8 days, then it became 7 days. And, you know, that's a lot of setups per day. And I think streaming is the most interesting things. And, you know, they're all losing money. I'm sure we're going to see big consolidation coming up on all the streaming platforms. There'll be 3, maybe 4 total down the line.
So everybody who like gave up their cable to have all of these apps.
Well,
is
it's
we're
the
gonna
new
be right back
network
where we
now.
started.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just a different platform, and they make fewer, and there's ads now and everything. Even Amazon.
No. Or you have to pay a premium in order to have it ad free.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Terrible.
Did you ever take anything offset of any show or movie you worked on without permission?
No, and I wish I did. People call me all the time and say, come on, I know you have your uniform. I know you have this. I didn't. They took it. And also, you got to know that when Jaws wrapped, we didn't even know it would get released. Who knew? I mean, you know, there were rumors they were going to pull the plug during shooting because they were so far over budget and over time. And, you know, it was crazy. And Jaws 2, I showed up to make Jaws 2, and I quit the movie because John Hancock had cut my part in half, gave all the best lines to a friend of his who's playing a different kind of cop. And I said, this isn't what I signed up for, and I left. 3 weeks later, he's fired. And Jeannot Swark and Joe Alves said, hey, what happened to the guy who was the original? I liked him. And boom, they brought me back. And these are my lifelong friends now. You know, Jeannot, I just saw Jeannot. He lives in France, in the Loire Valley. And Joe Alves I see all the time. And Gary Springer, Gigi Vorgan, John Dukakis, Billy Van Zandt, all dear friends.
I guess
it was like, because it was 9 months on a location. You know, the joke always was Jaws 2 that if any of us ever went to prison, you got 6 months off of any jail term just for doing Jaws 2.
I guess my follow-up to my question would be if there was one item you could have taken, the caveat being you can only carry it, what would it have been? Anything you've been in?
I could pick that orca up, I reckon I could.
Well, you know, it was a couple things. One is I would have kept my uniform and hat. And the other is I would have kept the sign, the original sign. They replicate it, you know, no swimming, no, you know, on the beaches. I would have kept the car if I could have. Scheider's, you know, Jeep.
Bronco, yeah.
That'd have been nice. I always wanted to know what happened to the nuts and bolts that Chief threw at you at the window, because that always makes me laugh when you just wave at him.
That was improvised.
It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
it's
hilarious.
And so was what's the matter with my printing?
Yeah.
You mean this side?
Yeah.
That's it.
I laugh every time I see that wave. That's just great.
And now I'm a superhero thanks to Matt Stapleton.
Superb comics.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. More to come. More to come.
So why don't we talk about that a little bit for the folks that don't know? That Matt has a graphic novel, right, where Deputy Hendricks is like the main character. Matt, you want to talk about that a little bit, and Jeff, you guys want to talk about that a little bit for the folks that don't know?
Sure. You know, I thought Matt was going to write a book about gin, but no, he made a superhero.
You know, I did message Hendrix Gin about a collab. I was like, come on, with comics and gin cocktails or something, really? We could do a launch. No, yeah, I wrote the Hendrix comic. because I always liked the Hendrix character, which is largely down to Jeff, I think. You bring such a warmth to the character and someone you can hang your hat on, that when you watch a film on VHS a million times, like I did as a kid, you kind of start looking at those characters and going, I wonder what else could have happened with them. And so here we are.
I get it. All the greats had imaginations like that.
Yeah, it's been good fun to do, to
For
take
sure.
Hendrix on this crazy adventure. So.
For sure. And
Matt,
next year, 2025, it's 50 years old. Someone said to me recently, 50 years? How old were you when you made this movie? I said, I was 9. For sure.
Oh dear.
Jeff, what was the confusion in Jaws 2? There's a scene where the chief gets fired and he comes home and he's drunk. And
Oh my God.
you know, they call you the wrong name several times, and nobody.
And they left it.
Yeah.
I can't believe they left it. It was, and you know, I knew it when he said it, although I was too insecure to stop the shooting.
Yeah.
Then to add insult to injury, Lorraine Gary says the same thing. She calls you the wrong name.
Yeah, because they called me that in that movie. Why they thought it wouldn't matter, I have no idea.
Funny.
But you know, it really, Jean Osoir came in and he ended up finishing this movie. They had 3 units shooting every day. He had 2 weeks prep. The previous guy, Hancock, had 6 months, if not more, to prep it. And it was Herculean. And in those days, you know, in the background, we shot in Pensacola, a lot of it. And if you saw a nuclear powered aircraft carrier in the background, you just had to wait till it passed. Nowadays, you can green screen it out and do whatever. But, you know, it was crazy. And we were there for 9 months. We were chewing ice. In some scenes, it was so cold so that you wouldn't see our breath when we spoke before we shot the scene.
We had a few years back. We actually did one of these with Gary Springer.
Oh, great!
Yeah, which was superb. And I think I asked him a similar sort of question. Although of course he wasn't in the original Jaws, but with you being in that, did you feel more pressure with Jaws 2 because of the success of Jaws when you were filming it? Was it sort of? Did you feel the pressure of trying to? No,
I didn't. But I'll bet the producer and the director and everybody else felt that pressure. And Jeannot, I know, felt that pressure. You know, the studio said, come on, you got to get this. And it turned out, and he took the pieces, there was very little footage that he used from Hancock's version, because it was a much darker vision. And it just, and this, he really, I have such, you know, planning this was like almost planning a military campaign where it was that, because they only had certain amount of time left. We ended up leaving Pensacola right before Christmas. It was unbelievable. And this began in the spring there. Gary Springer, one of my dearest friends, his father was one of the most famous publicists ever. He handled Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, Henry Fonda. I mean, it was just stunning. And throughout his whole life, stars in and out of his house. It was incredible.
Oh, we all
Was
know,
there any? Oh, sorry. Oh, I was just going to say, was there anything you recall being filmed for Jaws 2 that ended up on the cutting room floor that you wish?
Well, there were some things, you know, they shot a lot of footage in the Holodome. I can't remember exactly what has not come in there. Holodome is not there anymore, the whole hotel. But, and it was, I think the storms killed that hotel. But it was long. That's why the joke was, you know, any of us went to prison, you got 6 months of any jail term for doing it. Truth. It was a long time.
So we already established that we do not talk about remakes in this group. But if there were ever to be kind of an extension of the story, other than a movie version of Matt's comic, what do you
That'd be
think it would
cool.
be? What would you like to see?
Well, I loved the town and I loved the people. And, you know, it's hard. What do? You have another bigger shark come by, or you know, they're building all these wind farms off of the vineyard now. And do you do something there? But I love that Matt, and his is larger than life, but still the idea of the townspeople and crime and solving these things, because, you know, some of the mayor's behavior might have been criminal if we think about it in a different light. And I loved Murray Hamilton. What a fun guy he was.
Yeah, if I remember the
walking
novel
home.
correctly,
Well, I'm sorry.
if I remember the novelization correctly, he was an outright criminal. In
Well,
the
he was,
new,
yeah. But
novelization.
Stephen got rid of that story.
Yeah.
He got rid of the whole Hooper relationship with Brody, with Ellen Brody, and you know, well, yeah, I get it. It was just he was so smart in what he took and what worked, and you know, even that opening scene. Poor Susan Backlany had straps and a belt and a jacket, and they're pulling her back and forth under the water. She was a stunt woman. She's lived on a boat for over 40 years in Ventura. She's a nice woman.
She's one of the loveliest ladies I've ever met. We were lucky enough to meet her.
Sweet.
Yeah, she's absolute sweetheart.
And you know,
very lovely lady.
This was even the woman who played who slaps Brody. She was a vineyarder, and she was terrific. Yeah, and Jonathan Philly, the preppy kid at the top of the movie, became a producer, and he had a home on the vineyard and grew up there. And it was just those people, and you know, surrounding with real people, because a lot of those people in the town meetings and whatever were very real. And I remember as a kid, because we'd go and visit my grandparents who lived on the vineyard. My mother was born there too, and her sisters. We'd go visit, and Craig Kingsbury, who was the model kind of for Quint, I'd see this guy, and he was a big guy, and I liked his kids. He would walk barefoot in the winter. I'm not joking. I swear to God, in the snow. He must have had feet like concrete.
That's crazy.
Jeffrey, you were asked a question about extension to Jaws, but what seems to happen a lot in movies is they do prequels and backstories. Obviously, Quint would make a fantastic backstory. I'd love to see a film about that. But apart from the principal three, who do you think would have a fantastic backstory, or potentially have a good backstory film?
Well, you could also do it. Well, I thought, you know, the only other ones that I can really think of in backstory would be Quint and also the mayor. So you come in from a different POV. You know, it's a darker version of it, and it's, you know, I can hustle this community or whatever, but you know, in a way, there is room for kind of a semi-rural drama in this community. It's got summer people, year-rounders, and there's income inequality big time, and that might be something that you could play with.
Yeah.
You know, it's all in the execution. People came in, and I was in development forever. I mean, I couldn't drive a nail into the beach, but I could help make any story better. And people would come in and say, I got a great idea for a series. And then you start to examine the idea, and how does it play out? How do you sustain it from one season to the next? Where's your beginning and end? Who are the characters? How do they cross? What do they mix and do? It's much more complicated than you imagine when you just watch a show.
Yeah.
Speaking of
yeah.
Speaking of prequels, we were lucky enough to speak with Ryan Dacko a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not sure if you're aware, Jeffrey, but he wrote a book, The Book of Quint, that's getting great reviews.
I haven't seen it. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm only maybe 12 chapters in, but the first 10 chapters talk about the Indianapolis and the guys in the water and the sharks coming, and it's very well written and quite harrowing. It really does give a good picture. But yeah, there's potential talk about a movie of that at some point, so that would be
the Indianapolis I could see a movie, although you know what's going to happen, so it's kind of, and unless you deal with a few characters. Have you seen Masters of the Air? And it's like Band of Brothers and whatever. You deal with a few characters, and if you follow them through it, that it's because TV isn't so much about the story. It's different than the movies. It's all about characters. And young writers would come in and I'd say, you know what? It's all about, and characters need a rooting interest in TV. You know what many of these characters are going to do. You come back every single week because you love watching them do it. You know what they'll do. You know they're going to solve the crime. You just love doing it, and you can identify with certain parts of that, certain characters. It's kind of interesting.
I think Mark Ames, did you have a question for Jeff?
I do, if you can hear me okay.
I hear you.
All right. I had the privilege of going to see Jaws on Martha's Vineyard with Lee when I first went there.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
I didn't even know she was there until somebody pointed her out.
Oh,
So,
really?
me and my friend Rick Vale met her outside, and we took a picture with her, and she was really nice. She was a nice lady. But my question is not Jaws. It's about Halloween 2. I did see you in that movie, and I actually enjoyed it too.
If you blink, you'd miss me in that movie.
It's a really quick shot.
It's like Clue too.
It is, and also thank you for the Instagram message the other day about the autograph. I actually ordered
bet.
one.
I get it.
I actually put down what's a 908 as a question, one of the remarks to put on it.
That somebody sent me that meme that I posted. What's a 908?
Yeah, and I think also I said dance, the question you had with Brody there.
Oh yeah. But you were going to ask me about Halloween 2.
Yeah, how was your experience with that movie, with the production with that one? I mean,
I knew the producer, Deborah Hill. She was my friend, and I just adored her. Sure, she left us way too soon. Yeah. But I don't go to see a lot of scary movies. I wasn't, Halloween, but I came in there, and Donald Pleasance was such a pro and a gentleman, and when you're dealing and you're on the ice kind of with somebody of that caliber, it just makes you better. And I enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't like a big role, but I loved it. And the irony is, I probably have made more money just from signing or even residuals, because you don't make much anymore, but then I made shooting that movie, because it was a day or a day and a half, whatever. It was just crazy, but I was grateful for it. And one of the big things about people who I really respect and I think have talent and whatever is many of them are grateful. And gratitude goes a long way in life and our industry. And, there's I don't know what you call it. Is it luck? Is it chance? Is it timing? Is it fate? I don't know, but some things work well and some things work for others. And, you got to put it back out there. And to me, that made a big difference for me.
Thank you.
And Halloween was one of those examples where I was so grateful to be in it. So it's so different than a lot of other things that I'd done. It wasn't a of laugh out comedy, and I made friends forever. Rick Rosenthal and his wife Nancy Stevens are dear old friends of mine, and it was really fun. And when I went, they had a Halloween 45th anniversary, and all the Halloween casts were there. And I saw old friends, and it was so much fun. It was just great.
Can I just ask one more question, Martin?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Before I forget, with the experience of working with Spielberg, how was that?
It was fabulous. When I run into him, he was just always kind, and he, I never read. There was no script at that time, so I flew to Boston. I went in to meet Stephen, and for the first time in my life ever, and I think it's never happened again that I remember, is I left that interview. We just sat and talked, and I said, I'm going to get this job. And 10 days later, I was in Virginia shooting a commercial, and I got the call, and it was great.
Awesome.
But years later, David Kelly was getting an award at the Writers Guild, and he said, I can't go. Will you accept it for me? And I said, sure. And there were 600 people there or whatever, and Stephen's presenting, and he says to me, he says, oh, Jerry, I'm proud of you. And I thought, oh my God, he got my name wrong. I can't even tell this story. What are you going to say? No, Stephen, it's Jeffrey. You can't do that. So I'll tell it now in a podcast. It's
been funnier if he called you Lenny.
Yeah, that's for sure. I didn't even think of that one. That's good. That's funnier. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks, Daryl.
I only found out today, Jeffrey, that you did a voiceover in The Burbs.
Oh yeah, but I don't even barely remember doing it. You know why? Because I starred in Joe Dante's first movie.
Right.
Right after Jaws, I got involved in a movie called Hollywood Boulevard. I mean, Commander Cody sings the theme song "Truckin' and Fuckin'." It was unbelievable. and doing this movie, Joe Dante and Alan Arkush, and it turns out that Alan Arkush's mother and my mother were friends. But they hired me, and they used to cut trailers for Roger Corman. So half this movie is trailers. So 3 girls go to make it in Hollywood and end up taking on the Filipino army, which was from all the Sirio Santiago movies. And it was so much fun. It was Dick Miller was in it, Paul Bartel. Paul Bartel plays a director. And it was just so much fun. And Joe, I saw recently, we always maintained a friendship, but he now is going to signings too, Joe.
Right.
And he's just a lovely human being. So is Alan. Jonathan Kaplan, who's the director, was in it also. He was skinny then.
You're also in one of my favorite childhood movies. You play Towser.
Well,
Santa Claus the movie.
I lost you.
Can you hear me now?
I didn't.
Can you hear me now?
Now I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. You were also in one of my favorite childhood movies. You played Towser. Santa Claus the movie.
Santa Claus.
Yeah, brilliant. I love
Santa Claus the movie.
It's,
and I love doing it. We've lived in London for a while, and Lithgow and I have known each other since we were 18 years old. He beat me out for a Fulbright. Wow. But I used to run a theater on Martha's Vineyard, and he came up and directed for us once. And he's just a wonderful, sweet, loving, talented man. Kind. Yeah, and so I turns out 2 of my sons out of my 3 have Tourette syndrome, and I do too now, because I didn't know I had it. I just thought I'd move and neurotic, and I'd make noises. And I have Tourette because when they were diagnosed, I realized it. So John Lithgow and Richard and Dreyfuss, and Dylan McDermott, they all chip in and do cameos, went for fundraisers for us for Tourette. And David Kelly was really into it. He understood it. He's the one who did it on LA Law.
Maybe I should.
When they called it TV Tourette, people who shout out epithets.
Yeah.
And we did it on The Practice. We got a real girl who had Tourette, and we throw her out of school because she'd get up and she'd whoop, 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 whoop. She'd make noise and hoot. And the judge finally says, you can't homogenize our classrooms. You got to put it back in the class. We're all better off by having people who are different than we are. Everybody cannot be homogenized in America and in our classrooms. And we got a chyron to put on to call Tourette syndrome at the end of the episode. And it went through the roof because they call it America's most misdiagnosed syndrome. It's not a disease, it's a genetic syndrome. So, but we're making progress, but all my friends from those days, and Lithgow's one of them, help and make a difference.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to go off on a rant, but I did, because I end up, I'm on the national board, and I'm proud of it. And
again, though, another Jean, I can never say his name, Jeannot Suarez film.
Yeah.
Jeannot. I can never say his name right.
Jeannot Swark.
It's probably my
He's
Yorkshire accent.
Lovely guy. What?
It's probably my terrible Yorkshire accent. People can't understand me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mark, real quick, can I jump back real quick on back to Halloween 2?
Yeah.
Hey, so anybody who's a fan of this Jaws page, obviously we all are since we're here. Anybody knows Martin's next favorite movie after Jaws 1 is Jaws 4.
No, really.
So hey, in Halloween 2,
It is. Don't deny it.
There's obviously another actor in Halloween 2 that is Jaws alumni, Lance Guest. Did you have any interaction with him while filming?
I've never met him.
No,
I've never met him. No.
Was just curious, and I had to just put a jab in there at Martin. Sorry about that, my friend. Just,
Jaws 4.
It's okay. I'm a big boy.
But I do know John Putch from Jaws 3D. I used to work for his parents were Gene Stapleton and Bill Putch, and they ran a theater. I used to work there. So I've known John since he was a kid, and his sister Pam. When I came to California, I knew no one but they and anybody I'd met on Jaws. And I ended up my first Thanksgiving at the Putch's house, at John Putch's house. And all I could really remember, we laugh about it, he had a dog named Rusty who would fart like crazy during Thanksgiving dinner. And everybody would, wait, what? It was so funny. Killed the dinner.
That's awesome.
See, yeah, most people don't tell these things on these things, but what do I have to lose? I'm 98 years old. I might as well. I told somebody the other day, I said, I lie about my age every day except to get my jabs, for sure.
Jeffrey, do you? Oh, go ahead.
What?
Sorry, I think I jumped in then. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Just curious, as far as Jaws 1 is concerned, do you wish that you had been able to do some of the shooting on the boat, or are you glad?
I would have loved doing that. I was on a boat, but I was in one of those boats off the beach, you know, and boy, and we all got sunburned.
Oh, I bet.
Especially Roy.
Yeah. But it was really interesting to watch it from the water. You know, I had all my family showed up, and they put them in the beach scene, and there's still, still kids. They redid the Jaws Bridge there, and people still jump off. There used to be a thing where people would say, Hendrix made me do it. And if you could say that before you hit the water, you won.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to go to Martha's Vineyard for my 50th in 2022, and not the exact spot where you were, but I did do the whole fingers through the sand. But I didn't have a whistle, but I did do the whole.
That's fine. We're going to have, I think there's going to be a bunch of activities in 2025. We're going to do I wrote a letter to Stephen. I know the guy who runs his TV arm and co-runs it. And I think I'm going to help produce this 50th anniversary documentary. Stephen is a man who I've met and I just adore him. He's talented and just lovely. Frenchman named Laurent Bouzereau. And he is Stephen's go-to documentarian. He's got a new one coming out now on John Williams that will be great, I'm sure. And he will direct this and help shepherd it. And I think Wendy Benchley will be part of it. Because evidently I did learn that Stephen was really upset after Jaws came out that people were going out and killing sharks. I mean, it was just horrendous. So shark preservation, I think it's going to be, I'm not sure, excuse me, but I think it's going to be in Nat Geo. Thank you. But we won't start it for a little while, but next year's the 50th.
Woo!
Right.
Yeah. Crazy.
How did it go so fast? Can you tell me? I have no idea.
Jeffrey,
not a clue.
When you first saw Bruce, what were your thoughts? Because obviously on the screen.
Well, but there were 3 Bruces in the shed. You know, one went this way, one went that way, one went up and down, and they were lifeless. And they had, you know, an arm, and you know, they were in this shed on a street behind the main street, and they were always working on them. And most of my scenes were not with that. You know, I was the kind of human relief in a certain sense, the real relief. I was a townie kind of that made it feel realer and whatever. Because even Polly was a local woman. And she was the mother of a guy I know. He used to teach, Les McAllister, and used to teach, and just lovely people. Oh, Judy's on. Judy Pancoast. Oh, she said she's on, but yeah, I guess you can't see her. It just popped up on the screen.
She's yes, she is. There she is. Hey, Judy, if you're speaking, I think you're on mute, but feel free to ask a question.
Judy, my biggest fan. Never had a fan like Judy, because no one knows who I am for sure. Even, well, some people in Clue, it was like a babysitter picture. Parents would put it on and be able to go out and not worry.
Hey, Judy, you're on mute.
I'm here.
I think
Oh, boy.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Judy.
I got a little birdie told me you were asking about me,
Here,
so I not on.
I thought you were going to be on this.
Well, I did. You know, I don't want you to think I'm stalking you or anything.
No, I understand.
Judy,
But Nate contacted me and said you were looking for me. I'm actually by the ocean, but I'm on where the ocean is on the correct side. I'm at Amelia Island in Florida.
Oh yeah,
for a little long weekend. But Nate asked me if I had a question, and I said, "Oh my God, I got a million questions." But actually, I have 2 questions. And the first one is, how often do you watch Jaws?
Not that often. But you know, in the old days, I used to watch it much more. And we had a friend who was an usher at a theater in Los Angeles. And at the certain time every night, he'd let us in. And when Ben Gardner's head pops out of the boat, you watched the entire audience, popcorn, drinks went up. I swear to God, no exaggeration. It was unbelievable. The whole crowd reared back. It was awesome. We go in every night to try to watch it.
Well, that's the reason
I don't see it that much.
I
sometimes I do with my kids. you know,
Well,
and
yeah. How old were your kids when you first let them watch it?
oh, they weren't born. Oh, please, they were older. People come in with 3 and 4-year-olds,
Right.
and I say, well, they haven't seen it. And they go, oh no, he's seen it 3, 4 times. I said, I should call social services on you. I mean, that's disgusting. Way too young.
Well, how
But
old
you
were your
really? My kids were double digits.
Okay.
Double
what
digits, I
what
think.
did they think of you? Did they laugh? What did they think of watching you in it?
Dad, you're funny. And that's probably the only time they think I'm really funny, by the way.
Can I ask one more question? One more question. I know
You
you
can
were
ask
involved.
8.
Well, hopefully I'm going to be seeing you in a couple of weeks, although I'm getting a little nervous about that. But I'll send you an email about that. But huh? I'm sorry. I've lost the volume.
You froze. You froze. I didn't hear what
okay.
you said.
I said I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks when I'm in California. I hope.
Yeah, the 25th.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
you
sure.
have it. Okay, good. Great. I'm not worried about that anymore. But one more question, and then I'll cede the floor. But I know you were involved with the development of the X-Files. And I was wondering, since that by coincidence is my all-time favorite show.
Oh, really?
Yes. Were you involved in the casting at all?
Absolutely. And David Duchovny, I had done, we developed a half hour the year before where David, it's a sitcom, became an Avon lady. And he's making more money, selling more cosmetics and more sex than any of the women. He's the only guy. And I remembered him, and he came in and he got it. And Jillian, I was in several years ago, I was in the Bel Air bar meeting somebody, and Jillian was there with Peter Morgan, who I guess was her boyfriend, the guy who created The Crown. And I reminded her that I was in the room when she got cast. And she goes, Peter, he was in the room. He was in the room. And I remember she had no quotes. She didn't, you know how an actor has, you make this amount of money on this and you got to try to beat it the next time, your next job. She was just out of school, out of drama school. But she was excellent. And we talked earlier about how simple it was. You know, unexplained phenomenon and a believer and a non-believer. And it was written and created by a guy named Chris Carter, who was the former editor of Surfing Magazine.
Right.
True story.
But what a classic show. Like Jaws, it endures.
I get it. It was so successful. There were revenue streams that popped up that you had no idea. Novelizations, things like that. No one ever thought of that as a revenue stream. We ended up on Ally McBeal putting out records and tapes for the music. People were calling us. Barry White and Al Green wanted to be on the show. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to thank you for the X-Files because I still enjoy it. I watch it every Monday night with a group of people on Twitter, and we have a ball while we're watching it together. And it endures.
That sounds like Mystery Science Theater. Do you remember Mystery Science Theater? Yeah.
It's a great show. Yes, it is. It's really a blast.
Oh, how fun. Good.
So thank you. And I'll see you on the 25th. I can't wait.
See you soon, Judy.
Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.
Well, Jeffrey, we're just over an hour. We're good to continue if you are for a little bit longer.
I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
You serve dinner, right? You serve dinner?
Oh, yeah, it's coming. You should be getting it in about 20 minutes.
Chum. You're getting some chum.
Chum, that's right.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, if I could jump in here again.
Sure.
So I'm a high school video production teacher, and Jaws is, of course, my favorite film of all time. So I have to let my high school students experience it, because a lot of them really, you know, they look at movies that anything before the 2000s is old and useless. And,
Yeah. Get that.
but that and as Jerry mentioned earlier about it being, you know, just timeless. These kids still react the way I reacted the first time I saw it. And speaking of Ben Gardner specifically, I always have a hidden camera recording the kids right before that happens, because every single one of them react. Yeah. So
where do you teach?
I teach over in Ohio, a little town called Chesapeake, Ohio. So, but yeah, so every year right before spring break, I always make sure we watch Jaws. So, and of course they have a worksheet packet that they can't stand, but they always love the movie. So,
yeah. Oh, that makes me happy. I think that's great, because and many filmmakers go, oh my God, it inspired me. You know, Tarantino called it the greatest, and so many other guys just love it. Look, and Greg Nicotero, he is a fanatic. You know, he redid The Shark for the museum. There is another one. It's a replica, and it's in one of his living rooms. So his 9-foot shark is unbelievable.
I know. I don't remember what it was I was watching, but Greg Nicotero even said he had used the mold of Ben Gardner at some point in Walking Dead.
Yeah, that little. Well, that's true, but that tooth up there is he made from the mold, the cast of that.
That's amazing.
And that was done because Steven said we need another big scare, and they did it in Verna Field swimming pool. Joe Alves, he really had so much to do with Jaws. He was why we were on Martha's Vineyard. He is because the boat got canceled to Nantucket on the day he was going over. And you know, what is that? Is that luck, chance, fate, Joss? What do you call it? I don't know, but and he had so much to do with it. And he just put a book out, which is stunning, with all of his drawings and storyboards, and he's just brilliant. I see him often, and we were great friends. He was at my wedding. Got married. When I got married, it was at Jeannot's house.
Awesome.
It's true. We couldn't afford a venue.
We were lucky enough to speak to Joe Alves probably 2 or 3 years ago now, in the same format, and it was just you know, just a thrill. You know, you, Jeffrey, you know, Carl Gottlieb, Joe Alves. I mean, you guys are legends to us. You know, you really are. I mean,
and we're still breathing, which makes it really good for this podcast.
Yeah. If you weren't, it'd be a very short conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And you can get them to say anything you want when they're.
Okay, guys, any more questions for Jeffrey?
I have one more, and then I'll let everybody else take over as much as you want. How the fuck did Mayor Vaughn get reelected in Jaws 2? Someone explain.
Who the fuck is Donald Trump running again?
Amen,
I mean,
bro.
is it Mike? Oh my God.
This side of the pond, we wonder that as well, I must admit. We're loving this. We're watching, giving it our parliament.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Oh,
our parliament's a mess. Our parliament's.
Oh wow.
Well,
you guys are having fun. Yeah.
I get it. You're in for a tsunami over there, I think. Oh boy.
Sorry,
But,
I hijacked the question.
Well, what an interesting character that mayor is, you know, and Murray Hamilton, he was one of the greats. I mean, we're walking home and he sees a little kitty and he goes, here, kitty, and it was a skunk. And then he refused to go up to his room. So he ended up on a sofa in the lobby of the Harbor View Hotel. That lobby stank the next morning. It was unbelievable. And that story goes forever. But, you know, it was such a beautiful little town, the white picket fences. When I was there for it, some mornings you'd see, I don't know if you know who Ruth Ford and Garson Kanin were. He was a writer, director, and she was in that movie with Bud Cort. She was an actress, a tiny little character, old character. And you'd see them walk down the street. And it was so much fun to do this movie. And it seems like yesterday, 50 years went by. It's look, you know, holy moly. Not good.
That movie, Jeffrey, was Harold and Maude, correct? With Ruth
Harold
Gordon.
and Maude, yes.
Yeah, amazing movie as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Were you witness to any of the arguments that Roy Scheider and Jeannot had in Jaws 2?
No, but I heard about them.
Yeah.
And you know, Roy didn't want to do Jaws 2. He just didn't want to do it. He was forced to do it, and he was good in it. But, you know, he would go off. He's, you know, we never didn't socialize really with anybody. It was, and Jeannot is the most peaceful, loving human being you've ever met. The idea that he was rolling on the floor, and Verna and David Brown was appalled, and you know, he was nonplussed by this, is the nice way to say it, I think. There were cones around Roy's car because you could never go in. I don't know if they were afraid people were going to urinate in his Mercedes or something, but there were cones around the car, always protecting it. And I saw him at least many other times afterwards, and he was always pleasant. But, you know, sometimes I'd show up in the morning and he'd go, you know, I rewrote the scene. And I'd look over and I'd see Jeannot and David Brown go, they put me back in the scene.
How many times did you get to drive the Jeep?
Not many, and not enough. I love driving the boat too.
Yeah,
that was fun. That was fun.
The boat, Chief.
Yeah.
And
giving him directions. Yeah.
His house has been redone on Martha's Vineyard, the house that they use for Brody's house. It's unrecognizable now. You wouldn't know it.
I went and saw it here on 2022. There's a member of our group, Donna, who lives on the island, and she does tours. She took us round, and we went up, and you sort of like, you get all excited and you go, oh, doesn't look like it. It's not the
Yeah.
same.
And Jeff Voorhees lives on the vineyard. He ran my friend's restaurant. I have childhood friends whose kids own the wharf, and he was the manager of the restaurant for years. Now he's retiring.
Right? Yeah. Tammy, do you have a question, or Paula? Anybody else we haven't heard from? Robin?
I can't believe Stapleton is so quiet now.
I'm happily listening to all your stories. So.
Yeah.
Lovely. Just
I
nice
had
to listen.
So something else that has been suggested when talking about a continuation is a limited series based on the actual filming of Jaws. It's just such an incredible story. And I wondered what your thoughts would be on that, and who you would want to play you if that ever happened.
Oh, that's so funny. You know, I don't think anything like that would ever happen, because the buyer would say, who's going to watch this? Are there enough people to really see this? And, you know, when I went into development, I would get lots of scripts that were written about the making of Jaws, and I don't know that you can replicate it. It was the magic of the moment, you know, and I don't know that you can truly recapture that. And what is it? Is it universal enough that people would tune in? You know, there's no crime. I don't know. I wonder, I don't think it could ever work really. And I can't imagine that there would be any sort of remake while Stephen is still alive, for sure. I mean, why would they?
Can't beat perfection.
And he inspired generations of filmmakers. You know, it's kind of so cool. So next year we're going to have a bunch, and I think we're going to have a big 50th celebration, I hope, on the vineyard. I know nothing about the plans yet. I know nothing about Universal and what they're planning to do. You know, if I were them, I'd do some big celebrations. I mean, not many movies get there like this, but I have no idea what they think.
Yeah, hasn't released anything yet. We, Amity Jaws Group are working with the Daily Jaws and also Jaws 50. You know, with
And Mike Smith, yeah,
Mike Smith, and they've not announced anything. The feeling is they're going to release something maybe after the summer, but it seems we're getting kind of close to it. I don't know what they're waiting for.
Well, I have no idea, and it's nuts. I don't know, but hopefully we'll have a bunch of signings and stuff. I'd like to do one in the UK.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Come to the UK.
For sure.
You can stay at my house.
You beat me to it, Phil. I'm going to say, yeah, I've got the there. Do it there.
Oh.
There you go.
Frozen. Can I ask Jeffrey something?
Absolutely. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is Jay. I love your work, especially that scene after Chrissy died. You made it so real. It's still real to me. But anyway, what was it like working with the Fonz, Henry Winkler?
That's a good question.
I think he froze.
Hello?
We lost him.
What was it like working with Henry Winkler, the
Jeffrey's frozen.
Fonz?
Jeffrey's frozen. He'll be back in a minute.
Jeffrey froze.
I was going to ask that as well because the Fonz was my hero.
We lost him.
Well, by the looks of it, it was mesmerizing.
Just give it a second. He'll be back.
The Fonz was my top hero as a kid, and I saw something recently about how he was scared of the motorbike, and it's completely ruined it for me. I was just like,
I asked the wrong question. That's why he left.
Yeah, he scared him off. So he scared him off.
I scared him off. Goodbye, everyone. Sorry, I blew it for us.
We'll be back in a second.
I said, Henry fucking Winkler. God, that's great.
we got Jeffrey Cuss. Drop the F-bomb.
There's always one.
Can't imagine him saying a bad thing about Henry. I've met him a few times, and he's a really great guy.
I hear he's good.
Are we still doing a plan to do something for the 50th next year? Is it a collaboration with the other groups? Are we going to do something ourselves if nothing comes through? What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I plan on being there at some point. I just think with, I think next summer, I mean, and I've not been to the vineyard before, but from what I understand, at base level, it's very, very expensive. So I can only imagine what's going to happen next summer on Martha's Vineyard. But yeah, I mean, I'm, talking with Mike Smith, who is a great guy. He runs the Jaws 50 page. He's kind of got his ear to the ground on it, and obviously the Daily Jaws is a big group as well. So as soon as we know something, we'll post something. If it doesn't turn out that the Chamber of Commerce is doing anything, I
don't know what happened.
Oh, you're back. Here he is.
Was it me?
That was the question I asked.
Dropped off.
I just dropped off. I'm talking away the best stuff. You guys missed the best.
Yeah, I was asking.
You just missed all the secrets. Damn it.
I was asking about what was it like to work with Henry Winkler, the Fonz.
Oh, he's a lovely, lovely man. I've known him for a long time. We're not close friends, but he's a dear, sweet man, and always charming, always fun, nice guy. He is as he appears to be. Some people are just kind and enveloping and helpful and loving, and he's one of them.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard me before, but your scene right after when they discover Chrissy on the beach. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Great scene. Great scene. You made
that. Was the first day of principal photography. I said earlier that I was so nervous I could have really thrown up. I mean, I was nervous.
You hit very well. You
You're very kind. Thank you. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks. God,
Yeah.
I want to do more of these. This is fun.
We'll have you back next week, Jeffrey. You're always welcome back.
Tomorrow.
You're very
Yeah.
kind.
Anybody do anything tomorrow? Yeah.
You were in 2 Happy Days episodes, I noticed.
Oh,
one-
yeah, I've done a bunch of them. And many Lavernes.
Oh, okay.
Many Laverne and Shirley's. I got along well with the girls. You know, it was so fun, so much fun. And Gary Marshall, he was the greatest. And you know, on all those shows and Gary shows and those half-hour sitcoms, you know, they have warm-up comics that warm the audience up before the taping so that you want to laugh. Gary would give out candy, throw candy out. So you were sugared like the kids on Halloween. You know, I
Bouncing
hated
off them.
Halloween. The kids didn't come down from the sugar high for 3 days.
That's funny.
Jeez, it's true.
Question for you then. I'll do one. Did they try and get you back for Jaws Revenge?
Oh,
No, there was no role for me.
They
Where was
mention
Jaws?
they
Where
mention you though in the movie.
They do?
Yeah, you're out dealing with cow tippers.
I've never seen it.
I know. You're not
You didn't miss
missing
nothing.
But yeah, you're out dealing with cow tippers. So
You
Brody's
just
son
hurt
goes
Martin's
out and gets the
feelings.
bruising. It could have been you.
First of all, I don't believe it. Cow tippers, you know, we met, I took the kids once. We went to Oregon to some people we knew, and they said, come on, let's go cow tipping. You couldn't get near the cow, and then you couldn't tip over a cow. Me and 3 little boys going out cow tipping, and I'd rather just give them a dime and say thank you.
Yeah.
American thing, yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah. Love it.
well, I didn't expect us to be talking about cow tipping with Jeffrey Kramer. That's a conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got a question.
Sure.
Back in Hollywood, on the Universal backlot, I know they had the original Orca boat back on the little lake they had. Did you ever get a chance to visit the boat?
I did see it when I first came out, but I don't even think it's still there.
It got
the Jaws
demolished.
ride.
It rotted.
Is it still in Orlando? I don't know. I've never been to Orlando. I don't know.
The only one is in Tokyo now, unfortunately.
And they do still have the Jaws ride there, huh?
At Tokyo, Disney Tokyo, but anywhere else, it's gone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Harry Potter land now, isn't it? Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I've never seen a Harry Potter movie. I have
you just-
never read a book.
Just upset all the Brits on there, Jeffrey, unfortunately.
Yeah. But the Hendrix books, I'm very much into.
Good man. There we go.
Yeah.
we got plenty of those.
Will you be at the horror convention in May in Rotherham?
Rotherham, no.
No,
sadly not.
There's
I'll
one.
see you there.
Oh, you mean you're talking to Matt?
Yeah, because I want to get some more of these Hendrix comics.
Gotta get more of the Hendrix. I'm stealing the limelight.
Yeah, I share it with you gladly, my dear Matt.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I know I'll be at For the Love of Horror, Phil. So I'll see you
All right,
there.
I'll see you there.
In October.
If Jeff can fly across too.
Well, that'd be great.
Well, I see Matt when I'm over there. I see him and I see Ross. I mean, we all get together, Dean.
It's always really nice. It's always good to catch up.
All nice, because two of my 3 sons live there. What?
If you're ever in Yorkshire, come find me. You can stop at my house. I'm not
For
a stalker.
sure. I've been to Wales. I've been to Bangor.
All right, yeah.
It's where he
Well,
became
you're more
a
than welcome to
doctor.
come to Yorkshire.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
Lancashire.
For sure. And the guy who's Jaws mad, I can't remember the name. He's always, he loves Jaws.
Oh, Daniel Carver. Is that his
Yeah,
name?
Daniel Carver, right.
Yeah.
I saw him sing in a pub online recently. He
Really?
posted himself singing in a pub. It was great.
He used to be like long-haired rocker, didn't he? And then he's kind of cut
Yeah.
it short now, but he's still got
Yeah.
Jaws tattoo sleeve, which you're part of.
Yeah, I love it.
Pretty awesome.
I actually played you in mine and my little boys, Jaws the musical.
Jaws the musical? He wrote it?
You're in animation, and I do you. I sing as you.
What do you sing? Can you do a few? Sing the song for us.
I can't do it. No, I can't do it. It's basically it's a Beatles version of "I Want to Hold Your Hand, But You Found a Severed Hand."
Oh no, I get it. That's funny.
Jeffrey, I'll email you the links to the musical so you can watch it and you know, at your own leisure. It is
You're
something to
very
see
kind.
for sure. It's something to see for sure.
You're very kind. It's good.
I apologize for my singing now.
It's funny.
Guys, we're 90 minutes in. I want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to ask Jeffrey a question if they do. I know we haven't heard from some folks yet. John, Tammy. I don't know if you guys had questions or if you're shy, but don't be shy.
I think he answered my question though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's answered my questions.
Cool.
Jeffrey, earlier in the interview, you mentioned Phil Burke. He was my high school journalism teacher.
Phil Burke was? Wow.
Yeah, Cleveland High School in Reseda.
Really?
So he would take us on field trips to the Disney studios. So we got to do some writing and stuff there. It was pretty cool.
So, you know, I would open up the sets of all of our shows to the Hollywood foreign press. And, you know, you serve them breakfast or bagels and whatever, and they come down, they can talk to the stars. And that makes a difference for everybody. And they enjoyed it. You know, there weren't that many, certainly then, of members of the Hollywood foreign press. I think there were 89 or something.
Yeah.
But the Golden Globes were the most fun because you could drink there and it was movies and TV and it was fun. You know, we once had Christine Lottie, who was on Chicago Hope, and she won the award and she was in the bathroom. I don't know if you remember this. I just never forgot it. It was so funny.
My husband also worked at Universal Studios training the divers there that worked on the Jaws ride.
Oh, really?
And he was there when they destroyed the orca.
Oh, wow. Do you still live in Reseda?
No, we were living in Northridge and Granada Hills, but we moved up to Washington, which
Washington
we hate.
State.
Yeah, we hate the weather here. So hopefully we'll
cold.
eventually be back in LA, but
Yeah, but yeah, we have earthquakes here. It's not fun.
we have them here too.
Oh, you do, huh? Oh yeah, you,
not
of course you
not
do.
as often.
Yeah. Look at it. I see the jaws in the back of you. It's great.
Yeah.
Jeff, are
Great.
there any questions you're tired of answering after almost 50 years? And conversely, is there anything nobody has ever asked you that you've always wanted to talk about?
Oh, that's
No, not really. You know, that's interesting. You know, for many years, there were no podcasts. There was nothing like this. And so I think Jaws became more popular with the advent of streaming and generational, you know, because I asked people how old they were when they first saw the movie and who introduced them to it. And it's really, truly the love of these kind of movies and horror movies are grandparents to parents to children. It's really almost hereditary. It's awesome. But, you know, I didn't even know that there was such a thing as signing conventions, that you could meet fans. And I'll tell you something, when you go to them, you leave kind of inspired that people care that much about film and certain films, and that you made a little bit of a difference in anything is kind of awe-inspiring, I think. It's very cool.
Thank you.
People are very passionate.
Pleasure. Thank you all is really the thing. I'm blessed and I thank you all. I love doing these things. It's so much fun.
We're very, I speak for myself, you know, I started this Jaws page about 5 years ago with no grand illusions. I just, you know, wanted to connect with like-minded people. And here we are 5, 6 years later, you know, we're talking to a Jaws legend, you know, and as a you know, kid from England moving to the States a few years ago, this is, you know, it's so surpassed what I thought it could be. So it's just for me, it's a personal thrill. And I think everybody else on the podcast feels the same way. I mean, this is a big deal.
You were a great spokesperson for this group, because I'll tell you, when I met you, you came and you explained what you want to do and whatever, and Michael was with you, and I said, yeah, of course I would do it. And I'm sorry it took a while, but I'm glad we did it.
No, better late than never, and we'd love to, you know, continue a relationship. We'd love to talk to you as often as you would like. It's such a thrill, and
I shall return.
Ah, yes, enjoy too. All right, guys, we're just over 90 minutes, which has gone by in the blink of an eye, to be honest. But I want to make sure that I don't want anybody to, if we finish up, to think, oh man, I wish I had the chance to say something to Jeffrey Kramer. So does anybody have anything else they want to say?
I have one thing to share that I haven't said at all to anybody, I don't think. But Jaws, at school, I was horrifically bullied. I'm quite a tall guy. And so you look at me and think, really, he's bullied? No. And I used to watch Jaws at my dad's house. And that was kind of like my escape. And I used to have dreams that I was being chased by Jaws, until suddenly those dreams turned around and Jaws was my friend, and I could set him on all the people that were bullying.
Yeah, that's
really
good.
Helped me. Really helped. I think that's why
I get it.
I've got such a deep love. And someone said, who do you think is the most scariest protagonist in the film? And the obvious is Darth Vader and so forth, but I think is Jaws.
Yeah, I agree. It's, you know, and it touched that unknown fear of the depths of the ocean, that primordial ooze kind of that we deal with, because none of us ever swam the same again. Right. I guarantee you. I never
went back the same.
We used to, as kids, we used to swim at night. I wouldn't go in the water at night now.
Nope, not happening.
And on the vineyard, there's mainly sand sharks that we had when we were kids growing in summers there and stuff. But I wouldn't do it for anything.
I can't hear a bell on a bloody buoy anymore. Literally.
Yeah.
Took the ferry across from across to Martha's Vineyard for my 50th, and it was green. It's a green buoy, but it's there, and the bell, and it's exactly the same sound.
Exactly right.
I videoed it, and it's still, I can't watch it. I can't watch the video I've got on my phone because it's just this ding. And just like, no, I'm sorry, I can't deal with that because that's just too close to home.
Well, and that beach at the beginning, the South Beach with Katema, where I find the hand and the buoy was out there rigged and all of that. When I was a kid in summer camp, we'd go there and we'd camp out overnight, and the counselors would scare the crap out of us by telling us that there was the beast of Katema and it sucked little boys underneath the sand and they never were seen again. Oh boy. Never liked horror, bad stories. Yeah.
Isn't that the thing about where you filmed the scene where you found Chrissy?
Yeah.
Isn't the beach where she went into the water because that's quite tidal and wavy because of the way the waves come. So that's South Beach, and I've been on that beach, and but the actual beach is on the north of the island because it's a calmer water, isn't it, for her going in? Is that correct?
Well, the calm water was where they did the big family beach scene, where Mrs. Kintner's son gets it. But it was that scene with Susan and the beach party was really shot on it. called Katama South Beach. And the hand was done, because it was done in the sand dunes right by it. And they have surf there sometimes.
Yeah. It's walking on that
Oh
sand.
boy.
I know it's a public beach and everything else, but being a fan and being from this side.
Oh yeah.
Being on that beach.
And I heard they have big tours on the vineyard of, you know, places, and Jeff Voorhees does it, I think.
Yeah, Donna, it was there's a slight spoiler, and I'm sorry if I could ruin this for you guys, but when Brody first leaves his house and you see him driving and he goes away and he's going into town, he's actually driving to the point where the sign is. And that's a dead end. That's at the top of the island, and it's a complete dead end, and he's going nowhere when he's driving that to that point where the big the poster is, and it's the Buster Browns and Paint Happy Bastards. That's a point of the island. It's a complete dead end. He's going nowhere because
It used to be called Gay Head. They had the Gay Head Indians. Now it's called Aquina. So we all call it Gay Aquina.
Yes.
But it, you know, like it's kind of like they're not as big, but there was really multicolored when I was a kid. And it's like the White Cliffs of Dover in a sense.
Yeah.
Cool. 50 years makes a big difference. Used to be much more robust, those cliffs.
It's a timeless movie. I mean, you know, I know Phil, your Brandon, your son. How old is he? 7 or 8 now?
He's 9 now, 10 in October. He's been a fan since he was about. Sorry to say this, 4-year-old. He loves Jaws.
See, I should call social services on you.
Well, we actually built this. We actually built this in lockdown. I'll show you. Because this is how much of a Jaws fan he is. We built this in lockdown. Look if you can see it.
Oh wow, that's great.
So he wanted to. He's actually downstairs. He's shy. I was hoping he was going to come upstairs, but
you know, for years you could see pieces of the orca across the channel in Menemsha on the vineyard.
Right. Yeah.
And you know that the guys who did that big coffee table book, they're doing a new version of it.
All right, yeah.
An updated version.
I actually got a piece of the orca too off Lynn Murphy.
Oh,
well, Susan Murphy, should I say?
Susan Murphy, yeah.
Yeah. I wrote to Jim Bella, who put me in contact with her.
Yeah.
And I managed to get a piece of the orca too before it eventually got wrecked.
Yeah, so, really. Well, they used to put it in the book. If you bought the hardcover, you got a little piece,
I've
right?
got one version, but not that one. No. You got a piece with it, didn't you? Yeah.
Jeez.
I think
so fast.
Yeah, I think we'll start to wrap it up. We're at an hour and 40 minutes, which went by in a blink of an eye.
I loved it. It was great. Thank you.
No, thank you again, Jeffrey, for being so gracious to join us.
Pleasure. Thank you. Loved it.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
Thank
you. See you again, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
An honor to meet you.
I loved every minute of it. Thank you,
Jeffrey.
Thank you.
We'll see you in the SharkCon.
For sure. I'll see you. I'll see you in July.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Bye,
guys.
Thank you for your time.
Jeffrey.
Y'all,
Thanks for organising.
Thanks, Martin, and everyone that put this together.
Thanks, Martin.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nate.
It was
Thank
awesome.
you, guys.